but I'm going to do a Q&A with Sudama. And it's actually about some cool stuff that I know you want to hear about. But first, I have a few little fun things to read you. Okay, this was just some little stories about, Sundays. There's a story of a person who got up one Sunday and announced to his congregation, "I have good news and bad news. The good news is we have enough money to pay for our new building program. The bad news is it's still out there in your pockets." Okay, wait, there's a couple more. While driving to Pennsylvania, a family caught up to an Amish carriage. The owner of the carriage obviously had a sense of humor because attached to the back of the carriage was a hand-printed sign, "Energy efficient vehicle, runs on oats and grass. Caution, do not step on exhaust." Okay, then there's a few more. Let's see. Okay, here was. A minister waited in line to have his car filled with gas just before a long holiday weekend. The attendant worked quickly, but there were many cars ahead of him in front of the service station. Finally, the attendant motioned to him toward a vacant pump. "Reverend," said the young man, "sorry about the delay. It seems as if everyone waits until the last minute to get ready for a long trip." The minister chuckled. "I know what you mean. It's the same in my business." Isn't that good? Okay, so with that, now that you're chuckling, which is also a very potent, high spiritual energy, yes? So we called it, the talk title, "The Great Activity of God," because, I forgot. I looked up what a spiritual healer is, and I liked this because I thought it was very appropriate. What is a spiritual healer? A spiritual healer is a person who allows himself or herself to be used as a channel for the flow of healing light and energy. This can be done for the benefit of self and others. Do you like that? And it says, what is the source of healing? All healing comes from God, the universe, plain and simple. A spiritual healer acts as a channel for the healing energy, not its source. Even if the healer works in conscious cooperation with healing guides and spirit, they all work together as a unified channel for God's healing. Isn't that beautiful? Because, so many times, whether you go to a Native American shaman or you do a ritual, I used to go do ocean rituals and give offerings to the goddess Imaya, and it's powerful. So whatever energy you pull, it's going to help you, and whatever you're guided to do at that point in time, it's appropriate. So Roxy, thank God, saw Sudama. And so I'm going to have Sudama come up, and he's a tall guy. You want to hold this mic, Sudama?
Sure. Do you want to sit?
Well, I can sit, and you can stand, and I'll ask you the questions from my seat. Because look, he's a short guy, right?
He's got a halo.
I know he does. Okay, now, you're on, my brother. Okay, so the light's kind of in your... No? Are you okay with that? Okay, there you go. Now the lights, because he looked like he was in the sunshine. Okay, so I came up with 3 questions because I know that he can talk forever on these 3 questions. And I know you're going to want to hear this because I haven't heard Sudama's story in a long time. So the one thing that I wanted people to be aware of, because your journey has been quite amazing, and it was kind of interesting the way you got into the healing work, So I'm going to have Sudama talk about his background and his journey toward becoming a healer. You're on, my brother.
Well, when I was sitting there earlier, I was thinking, well, I know she's going to ask me that question, so how am I going to start? Because I'm actually trying to write a book about it. It's that big.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm 61 now, and so
Is that all?
what I got to start saying was that when I look back, it seems like, and I think we all do this, we choose before we come in our trajectory.
Yes.
How much pain and pleasure, what kind of frequency,
Yes.
what is it we really want to accomplish and do, blah, blah, blah. So when I look back, I realized I timed it just right to not get drafted in the Vietnam War.
Oh.
Because I turned 18 just months after Carter ended it.
Mhm.
And there was some apprehension there, because a lot of people were going off to fight. It was completely ridiculous. So I look back and I think, if I was going to do this right, I would come in 1957, International Global Year, right, IGY. And that seemed like a very positive year. People were thinking, the war was like 12 years in the past. We're still in this baby boom order. And I came in and I looked back and I said, I was a healer right from the get-go, because we're all doing something as a healer. But in my case, as a professional full-time healer guy, how often do you find that, right? There's not that many full-time healer guys. So I came in, my great-grandmother was in the hospital dying. My grandfather had had a heart attack. And my mother almost died giving birth to a 10.5-pound baby who was in for an extra month.
Wow.
And I was put in the arms of my great-grandmother at a certain point, and then next week she checked out. My grandfather lived another 4 years. They sewed my mom up and she was fine. And here I am. But then, immediately, what's happening in my family, my dad was the first American to learn Arabic in college. And he wrote the Collier's Encyclopedia entry for Islamic law back in the 60s, because he'd gone to Iran in 1950 on an archaeological thing. So he was completely Middle Easternized on some level. He's a sheikh from another life, that guy. And he was a hostage in Iran for 440 days. That was a massive healing experience on many levels, which is a whole nother story. That's a whole book right there. But age 1, I was in Lebanon. My dad was studying Arabic in Shimlan at this English institute, and right away there was a war. There was a revolution, and we were evacuated. I was put on an airplane in the stewardess's hands. My parents were lifted in their Jeep onto a U.S. freighter by U.S. Marines. I literally were like, taken out. Then my dad, to speed it all up, we lived in Yemen, where I saw people's heads get chopped off. My mother went to play tennis with the imam, and there was heads on the courts of the poles. There was giant snakes in the road. There were scorpions under my bed. It was crazy. Now that place is completely overrun by, Al-Qaeda type. That valley, I saw a picture of the valley. It's completely scary, strange energy there now. Then we went to Greece. We lived next door to the Prime Minister. I used to drive my tricycle around the guards. I had lots of interesting memories, Lived in Lebanon, we got evacuated. We've been in 4 wars. And then each year I'd be sent back to the United States to stay with my grandmother back in heaven in Maine. So I sort of got heaven and hell, heaven and hell, heaven and hell, heaven and hell. And that's a good training for doing this kind of work, because I feel that to be effective, you can't be stuck in any one cultural program. If you really want to be out of the box, like I would say this, if you say, well, what is your work exactly, Sudama? Well, as an intuitive healer, it's my job to be out of the box, because not everyone else is in the box, but most of the medical world is pretty boxy. And then this place is definitely out of the box, right? And you're definitely cultivating what I intend to cultivate with people when I'm working with them. Now, what is it that a whole audience, a whole congregation can pray the heck out of a situation for a person? It still doesn't work. What's going on there? This is where I can be useful, maybe, to talk about. There's a guy over at Unity Church fell off a ladder in October. He was in ICU for 2 months. Nothing changing. Horrible. Pneumonia, tubes tied him down, right? Hell on earth. Bonnie and Lucky came over to Paradise Found and said, Sudama, I gotta do something. And so I said, I don't know this person, connect me, right? So I called the girlfriend. She says, they just told me they're sending him to nursing home to die. We need a miracle. So I said, okay, well, medical world's not useful. It's good you're calling me, because this is where I'm most useful. When nothing else works, you go to the spiritual healer guy, because you got to talk to something that's beyond and beyond. So I did everything I know to do. I sat on my bed that night, did a remote healing, never met the guy, Had a picture of him though, although it's not necessary. You can do it without that. You can bridge heal through people, just as long as you get the connection of one person usually. So I just did it, zap everything. Usually it boils down to, it does take a village, right? Those folks praying for him kept him alive for 2 months. But there's an entanglement in there that just general prayer isn't going to work, right? That will do a million great things. But if you have things all snagged and tangled, you've got to get in there and untangle the thing, right? So that's where I use kinesiology, and you can all learn kinesiology. Kinesiology is ultimately a way of asking the universe a question, you get a digital answer, right? Yes, no, weak, strong, resistance, no resistance, and you can track that stuff. And I would say, well, what's your main tool? That's my main tool. Aside from just being God, aligning with God, which is the ultimate tool. Then God says, well, now you're going to do something here. You're my agent. It's not working right now. All these other people aren't quite getting what the tangle is, right? So I use the kinesiology and tracked it to I'll try to be a little vague, so just to not be, someone's personal life. But basically it had to do with the toxic grandmother. And so I cleared it. And then the next day I got this phone call like, oh my God, Sudama, oh my God. The medical guys came in, they were like, what happened here? It's like, he's not going to nursing home, he's going to rehab. It's like going to Disneyland, right? So it's like all of a sudden major transformation. They took the tubes out because the pneumonia dried up overnight.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Then, because the tubes are out, he doesn't have to be shackled down. Major psychological issue, right? Suddenly he's freed up. It's now February, he's walking around, he's out of rehab, he recognizes everyone, he's totally back.
That was incredible.
And that's ultimately because I would say he was talking to Pleiadians, I know. It was right on the edge. It was like, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Ultimately, I have to give him the credit because he wanted to stay. He hung out in that place for 2 months.
Wow.
Just hanging in there, waiting for the right sparkle thing to come in. I happen to be a purveyor of sparkle things, right? So luckily I had the right sparkle thing, right? In that moment, we tracked it. So that's kind of why you need people that do this kind of thing, right? Because there's going to be a tangle in there if it's chronic. And chronic has many layers. And you can pray the heck out of many layers and you get 60 out of 70, but what about the other 10? So you gotta be an archaeologist at that point. And it is a kind of Sherlock Holmesian endeavor to figure out where the weakness is, right? Paul, can I share a little bit about what we did? So Paul came into Paradise Found like 2 weeks ago, during the rains actually.
Yes.
And basically, in a nutshell, I was saying he has a sleep issue, right? He was waking up at midnight and 3, some of these like every 3 hours. And so here's where kinesiology, before you even do kinesiology, you get the intuitive flash. And I would say everyone is capable of getting it. If you're more trained to know what you're catching, you're going to get a much higher percentage shot on grabbing the thing. It's sort of like a baseball coming at a shortstop. One time when I was playing Little League, my hand just went out and caught the ball, and I don't know how I did it. I didn't think about it. It was like, oh. So that's kind of catch the intuitive thing, because it's coming by you at about speed of light, actually. It's not 500,000 miles an hour, it's way faster. It's literally just like that, and if you get it, you get it, you don't know. In this case, I got, seafaring. Seafaring people, past lives. And then he's like, well, I'm like a sailor guy, right? Full-on sailor guy. And I'm like, and when you're out on sea and you drown, you have lung problems in the next life. Right. What's the sleeping issue here? Well, in this case, what do guys on watch do out at sea? every 3 hours or every 6 hours. If it's really stormy, it's probably every 3, right? 6 hours off, 6 hours on. You wake up at 12, you go to sleep again at 6. You go on watch at 9, you go to sleep at 3. Whatever it is, ding, ding, he's waking up on the clock hours. And then he goes home, and instead of drowning in an ocean voyage vessel, the floods have gone into his cabin.
Yeah.
So even after his healing, he's still negotiating with water, right? So anyway, isn't that fun? That how it works like that? And so we can do this, right? Isn't that what Kamala Harris said? We can do this. Right? So meaning, you might have the worst problem in the world, but there is a way to unhook the tangle. You know, you've all passed a rose bush with your sweater, and it's like, you gotta go and all right. I just saw that happen at a party last night. Someone's earring was hooked on someone's sleeve, right? And they're saying,
Right.
so
Exactly.
that's kind of, to me, that's what healing looks like.
Yeah.
That,
And then on your journey, as far as, you know, you were a kid and you lived in all these places, then what had you expand more into this work?
okay, so a lot of kids see ghosts, right? This is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Before, like you said, we get enculturated and then
Right.
we can't do that anymore. I could see the ghost at our house in Lebanon because it was the owner of the house had come back to visit, and he visited a bunch of folks.
Wow.
And so he would walk through my room, and I'd go, Arabic, on the balcony, and look on the balcony, not there. So then I'd tell my mom, and she'd go, you saw Mr. Karani. So I evidently had some capacity for that didn't go away, right?
Oh.
Because the culture didn't knock it out of me. My mom went to a shaman, actually, in Greece. Now, who's going to shamans in Greece in this culture, right? She had a messed up back. He fixes it. They take the shaman to court at one point. So he goes, you guys want to see what this is all about? Bring in the lamb. They bring in the lamb, he breaks the leg. Everyone's like, oh my God. And then he fixes the leg. And the lamb walks out. So they dismiss the case. So my mom was into this. She was into tarot cards. She's into Ouija boards. She's into guitars. It's everything I love. My dad is the more black and white diplomat guy, but super high intellect.
Right.
So the combination is good. I think I got some of that. You know, went to Princeton, went to grad school, have some kind of little, like in aura pictures, there's a little light above my head. So I pull from that. I get a lot of information from that. We all probably have some little being there that's sort of like, what do you need? Take that, you know, seriously. So don't you notice that everything you need to know you learn, somehow it comes to you just before the thing?
That's exactly right.
So that's kind of how healing works too. I get all this information, I go, this is really unusual information. The next day it's exactly what I need for the person.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Because I don't know everything, right? Who does, right? But you can access everything. Now, there's a lot of ways to learn kinesiology. Ultimately, we've encountered it more with a chiropractor maybe who pushes on your arm with the vitamins or something, right? But kinesiology is done more in your heart, and you just know. That's how I do it. You just look at the thing, and it's like, you just know. We all can do this. Different. You know when the phone rings, it's mom. Sometimes you just know. So how do you know that? I would say that's where thinking doesn't really help you. It's too slow. Even if it's an 800,000 mile an hour thought, not going to work. You need speed of light. You need instantaneous. Anyway, I could just go on and on about that. But,
Well, the
yeah.
second question I was going to have Sudama talk about is, wait, I wrote it up. How do past lives affect us in this life? And obviously, Paul was a good example.
Mhm.
And do they cause issues in your current life? I mean, is that with everybody, or?
I think I don't personally feel like past lives are messing with me. And
Okay.
it might be because I came in a pretty good frequency. You know, I came in kind of knowing what I'm doing here, rather than, I'm getting bored, what the heck? You know, there's a lot of people, they put on the brakes. And how do I know that? Because I test what I would call the octaves of creation. And what are the octaves of creation? I learned this from this ingenious scientist, Joseph Sconia, who's passed away in the 80s. but he can show you how the atomic table unfolds as your body, and that all the chakras are noble gases.
Noble what?
Gases.
Gases.
Hydrogen, hydrogen, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. And so I use that because immediately I can tell, oh, this is an argon issue. I just test it, oh, heart issue. Or, oh, this person's all munged up in the throat. Or the interesting one about the past lives is hydrogen, hydrogen. Hydrogen is like God. The universe is 80% hydrogen or more. So first octave of hydrogen, it's like you're deciding to come in. Do I want to get born? It's like you're entered into the physical fray, right? And so then, okay, I'm getting born here. But then you hit the next octave of hydrogen. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I love this light. I'm coming in now. Reverend Miriam, here you are. You probably came flying in, right? You're this kind of person, right? Other people are like, I'm going to get born. Wait, I didn't anticipate this. What the hell? Who are my parents? I had to put it on the brakes big time. And then they get born and they have a horrible birth. Now, I didn't have a horrible birth. I just incubated for another month. I don't know why. You know, I probably wanted to come out on July 2nd, 1957, because that was the astrology that helps the healing, because I have like a triple conjunction in the 8th house in Leo, which is like a laser Mars, Venus, Leo. I don't have to believe in astrology, but it does help me, I know it, because it's a configuration of energy, and that's what your astrology chart is. It's like your software, ultimately. It's your planetary software. And I was just talking with Bruce earlier. We played the planetary chord, because if you speed up all the planets and relativize them, they play a major 7th, 9th sus chord. And it sounds like a planetary chord. Do you want to just do it? Check this out. This is the kind of thing my wonderful, crazy mind does, right? Let's figure this kind of stuff. So we got the C's and the G's. The outer planets are all like drone strings, C and G. And then Mars is a B, Earth is a D, and Venus is your F sus that floats it. So Celtic music. Okay, so we got the C's and the G's. And then the B, the D, and the F. Okay, there's your planets. That's your astrology. This is your, because it's a suspended chord, you're floating in space.
Wow.
So you can go beyond the planets. My guru used to say that. I spent years with Muktananda. That's another important part of the story. That guy was from another planet, seriously. That guy had Shakti like I've never seen anyone to date have. You know, there's amazing shamans out there that do amazing things. I never saw anything like that guy. You know, and everywhere there's all these gurus somehow get into trouble too, you know? But that's because they're kind of beyond everything. I don't think they even realize sometimes that they're so beyond, they're not really going by the rules anymore, exactly. Because the rules come from the head, right? It's really the laws of the universe that are transacted. Anyway, so, how do you feel about that answer about the past lives? Can you see that they can affect you, right? Like coming in, getting born wrong is a problem. Yes.
So also I'm an astrologer in the 12th house, which has to do with the time, just like you having all the planets in the 8th house. The 12th house is the house of unconscious stuff, and it's also the house of past lives. And if you have planets there, like I have a moon in Capricorn, then you might be more likely to access your
Right, I have Saturn there.
lives.
Saturn right in the rising. So Saturn is a teacher, crosses your T's, dots your I's kind of guy. Like, oh, tie your shoelaces, you know? You don't want to trip walking out onto the road, tie your shoelaces. That's kind of a Saturn thing. You know,
It's
very
also self-discipline.
stern, yeah, very.
Very
You know,
disciplined with this.
I had the good fortune of playing a lot of music with EJ. And during my Jupiter cycle, was a 12-year cycle, and I'm thinking Vedic astrology. I came out with so many songs and creative stuff, I couldn't even keep track of it. Only recently am I recording some of the stuff that came out years ago. And now I'm not creating as much the Saturn energy is going back and bolting it all into place. So I think we do this. We have periods where we have tremendous efflux, like all this stuff's coming out of us, and we're trying to discover who it is we are with this information and our talents and our, whatever it is we're doing. And then in another cycle, you get to tidy up the mess, the creative mess, right? Just like in kindergarten, right? You play with all the toys and put them away. And it's both are important, because that is what the healing story is. We're making a mess, and then we go, oops, I said this to this person, oh, I shouldn't have said that, and then, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And that resolves it, right? So the healing equation is a continuous, I think of it as like hydraulics. Why do you think I'd say that? Right? Pressure, vacuum is kind of what's going on, because pressure creates pain, right? When you have to go to the bathroom really bad, it's pressure, right? And then, right, then sensation is the result of the evacuation, or the empty space. Meditation is the perfect antidote to pressure. So ultimately, what are we all doing here is some kind of equilibrating our consciousness with our body and our spirit, and that's health. And even if you have little mini problems in your body, there's healer, we can work that out. Don't worry about that so much. It's really well-being you want, right? Because if you have the well-being, who cares if your foot is probably has some little issue, I mean, yeah, you want to deal with it, but that's what you want, right? So otherwise you're all munged up with your poor me, and I have this problem, I have this problem. Well, where's your consciousness at? Forget about that. Just come back to much better. And so the meditation, that was beautiful, Denise, what we did this morning, right? It was very, you just get information.
Okay, one other question. Do you have to have a strong belief in order for you to be healed?
I feel like I've proven that that's not, that you don't have to. Because most people couldn't possibly believe what it is I do, or the results I've gotten. You know what I mean? Seriously.
Yeah.
And this is true. A lot of what I'm going to write in my book, I can't even write about, actually. Because no one would believe it. It would just be seen as ridiculous. And so I'm going to obviously edit it. But I think we've all had experiences that are so phenomenal, like Paul's. How are you going to catalog that? It's just so beyond. So, what was the question?
Well, so you do a healing, and if somebody's like, yeah, whatever, I don't know that really works, and they'll get healed anyway.
Well, the guy at the rehab center.
Exactly. Well,
Okay, so there's an example of a telepathic healing. He didn't ask me directly for one, but I would say I had subconscious permission with him, because there was not that many layers in there. It was just the grandmother layer, really. And I helped remove that, and then instant healing, like they've never seen kind of healing, because it was only one layer, I would say. That layer was so thick, though, that it knocked him off the ladder and caused him hell for 2 months. So that's why we not only have to do the spiritual, cosmic healing, you have to do the jujitsu healing, which is when your problem looks like this. You got to deal with that, right? You got to pull this out, pull this down, pull this up, pull this around. It's like the guy that climbed Yosemite with no ropes. Did you see that movie? He practices his.
It's incredible. Yeah,
right? Because otherwise he couldn't negotiate with certain things. And so he's already practiced, but he knows it's like the physics of it. And there's physics of this. It's very specific sometimes. That's why the kinesiology is necessary, because it's a cluster F. You know what I mean? It's so weird that you have to get the past life thing, and you have to get the grandmother, and you have to deal with your boss who's stuck in a secretary, you don't like that. And there's all these weird little things that you think, well, why is this person so afflicted? Well, they've got this strange little bandwidth of stuff. You just got to literally delete files and then substitute something better. better thought,
Oh,
better feeling. And you're doing a lot of these technologies here. And they work, actually, a lot.
They actually do. You know, it's interesting because I'm sitting across from my daughter. She has, you know, gotten rid of the breast cancer, but she goes, well, but I'm going to have this blood work just to affirm because, you know, she's such a head case. And I said, so let's do it now. Well, but it has to work in 2 days, Mom. I go, it's working right now, in this moment.
Yeah, fix it now.
Yeah, it's done. So I'm gonna write her a text and say, here's your affirmation, start saying it, okay? So she can get it in her brain.
Well, the last quick answer for your question, I would think, would be to think of it like this. That your brain is not actually separate from your heart. It is a satellite of the heart, which means you can be thinking crazy stuff. So what? As long as some part of you is happening, this crazy stuff can work itself out. Joseph Jordan Pierce wrote early on, that I remember reading this, and here I traveled with him actually, and helped him produce programs. He says the vagus nerve connects to the right brain, but not to the left. Which is why you can have a crazy scientist, genius guy who builds a bomb. Right? They're not having any clue it's going to blow people up. Or they're not considering the consequences because their heart is not involved with it. It's their left brain has gone sociopathological on them. But if you link back to the right side, you vector back to the heart. And then that's where anything can happen, right? Because this 5,000 to 1 is the femtotesla, 50,000 femtoteslas to 10. And so that's a no-brainer, right? So it's like, this is really where it's going on. And so to heal, you have to kind of be hanging out here, and then the person thinks, I don't know if I believe this. And it's like, so what? We just like, we just zapped you. We just realign something. And even if it's just the information, that can do it. Like the information for Paul, like I don't even know what the full result was, but he seems to indicate that he had got a good one. And that the information goes in where he didn't have any clue that his sleep problem had related to that. And so just making the connection is more than half of it.
Wow.
And then you have to do something with it, maybe to transact it fully in your body. But
And that's beautiful. So talk about a little bit what you're going to do today with the group, because you're doing a group
yeah.
energy, would you call it healing?
Yeah, I was thinking that, you know, this is where we get to do more of the talky talk.
Yeah,
And then,
exactly.
And then at 12:30 we'll do more zoom right in on each person, or do it as a group for a little bit, work the healings.
Okay.
And there's something about when there's lots of people, it pops it better.
I agree.
Sometimes people are more inhibited about sharing their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. I don't need all the laundry list. It's more the ballpark, and then we find the invisible part, which isn't even anything close to what the laundry list looks like often. It's the seafaring stuff. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's something completely different.
Exactly.
That's why this would be useful, because otherwise you would have solved your problem.